Alright, so in this video I'm going to use the lathe that you see above you to make darts, as well as the knee darts out of wood. They have a nice smooth appearance. I'm going to have to obviously paint them silver, and then I also made some toe spikes. Again, all out of aluminum, aluminum welded on the sides and everything. This one I've actually painted, and this one I haven't. As always, remember to wear proper eye protection and keep yourself safe. I learned a lot, and I'm telling you, a lathe is an awesome tool. If you have an opportunity to use one, I would suggest using one every time you get an opportunity to. With that, I hope you enjoy. If you like, please subscribe. Lower left-hand side, real tiny. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.
First of all, let me start out by saying that metal is very sharp. Not only is metal very sharp, but things are spinning very quickly. So let's go ahead and, now that we've got that out of the way, understand that the lathe is a very dangerous tool. Now that I've said that, let me tell you, I love the lathe. It is so fun to use. Just turning out parts on a lathe is just so comforting. I cannot express enough how much I enjoyed this. So thank you, Chris, for letting me borrow this. So on to the video itself. Please use proper safety gear. If you'll notice, I wear gloves, I wear eye protection. This is not something to joke around with. As you see, I've already broken two. That's not a normal thing. I actually figured out exactly how to make these later on. But originally I started out trying to leave the rod the exact same length that I bought it. So it was 3 foot. 3 foot of rod just kept breaking and breaking and breaking on me because I had this giant piece sticking out the back of the lathe that you can't see that was just snapping off time and time again. So understand that's why you see so many failed attempts early on. I was able to start turning out darts successfully every time by cutting the darts to 2 dart length, adding the tip to one side, which was a 30-degree tip, flipping the dart over, adding the 30-degree tip to the other side, and then straightening out the lathe bit and actually cutting in the accent pieces, which you don't see on these first few darts, and then going back 5 millimeters from the tip, cutting into approximately 1.5 millimeters diameter, and then going back for 7 millimeters to cut out that inside piece. And that was how I made each of these darts. Now that I showed you what it was like to make the Gauntlet darts, I actually go in and start making the boot spikes. Now the boot spikes were sort of cool because I hadn't really planned on making them, but I saw a wanted thread on the dented helmet. I thought, gosh, I bet I could make those, especially now that I have the lathe sitting at the house and I have to give it back sometime. Again, thank you, Chris. So I went ahead and looked up RafelFett templates, got the measurements. Some things that I used here was aluminum rod that was approximately 13 millimeters wide, so I had to bring it down to about 12 millimeters diameter. After I took it down to the 12 millimeter diameter, I went ahead and added on the points to the darts. If you'll notice, the darts have a recessed hole, so then I go ahead and drill out that hole. After I drill out the hole, I cut them to the proper length. After I've shined them up a little bit on the lathe. One thing that I'm proud of is the fact that I made a miter box that has the exact 37-degree angle that I needed to cut the darts themselves, or the spikes themselves, very happy with how that one turned out. As you see, I used several pieces of wood and some paint stirrers. And then I actually have to cut out, I couldn't find any aluminum bar the proper 15 millimeter width, so I actually had to cut it, and I cut it out of L bracket aluminum that I got from Home Depot. And then once I did that, I actually aluminum welded the 2 pieces together and finished it off by spray painting one of them, at least, to see how it looked, the aluminum color or metallic finish, to see how it turned out. And I actually really liked the way these turned out. Some notes: I had to use a propane torch, and it is very, very, very hot, and I burnt myself. So don't burn yourself. Don't do what I did. Don't burn yourself. So I didn't have any aluminum rod big enough to do the knee darts, but I did have an old flagpole that was taking up space in my garage. So again, thank you for the lathe. So I decided that I would turn them out of wood and see how they turned out. They are not perfect by a long shot, but using RafelFett's templates, I went ahead and turned out the knee darts. It actually went really well. I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of connotation here. Just understand that I used the templates. I added the little accent marks as appropriate. They're not 100% accurate, and that's pretty much what it is. So each of the darts I made is slightly different from the others, mainly because I wasn't as 100% perfectly accurate as I normally am whenever it comes to whenever I was making like the Gauntlet darts and other stuff. It just I actually sort of wanted there to be a little bit of difference between the two. So I went ahead and let there be difference between them. So as you see, I've made one full dart now, and I just go back in and I recreate the darts time and time again until I get the overall measurement right. Once I get the overall measurement right, I go ahead and cut the whole piece back all the way, and then start cutting out the accent pieces again. With wood, it throws a lot more, especially since I was taking off a lot of material. It's throwing a lot more material down, so I was actually had to vacuum pretty often while I was doing this. Some things to think of here is this. If possible, you could maybe do this in a drill. It's getting the piece chucked into the appropriate size, so that way you can what's the word? Get them chucked in, so that way you can spin the piece. Once I again did all that, I then made the final piece, which had an angle on it. One of the things that you saw earlier in the video was that I actually painted the pieces. This was to sort of seal them up, so that way I could paint them later. I've sanded after I've painted to sort of fill in the pieces. Each of these has an actual hole in the front, so I went ahead and got out my drill and then very carefully drilled out the center pieces. Like I said, it all worked out really well. I actually really like the way these turned out. Once they're painted silver, I think they'll look really good, and I think they'll be good darts.